What's going on, everyone? Slovosh here. Wanted to bring you guys a new video. I know it's been a little while, but game's been kind of slow, and I've been doing some other things. Got a lot of shit going on, but want to bring you guys a mental cable build that I've been using. It's a lot of fun. I don't see too many mental ranged like area type builds out there. Like even on Marvel Heroes Info, a lot of them are like scimitar or just straight scion gun kind of thing, or not scion, but just the energy type thing. So I'm doing full mental build here. What I'd like to do, and this just the agenda for the video, and I'll try to tidy this up towards the end, but I'm going to try to move a little more quickly than normal just so I can get this video under 25 minutes or something. I am going to try to do the Clert terminal once I've explained how the build works. So as you can see, I'm using Team Up is Pirate Deadpool. I just like his ability to freeze everyone on the screen. Plus he does pretty good damage. I have him with some pretty good Team Up gear. Next, we are going to start with the skills from left to right, and then we'll go into traits and talents and infinity system, then gearing, and then we'll go do the terminal per usual, per my most builds. So starting on the left click or the target lock button, this is like your main spender. Mind Bullets. Mind Bullets through a talent becomes a basic ranged area move. It looks like this. He basically can shoot pretty far distance with them too, and then they all splash for little bits of area damage. And if anyone is under the effects of your damage over time, you get 40% extra damage, which everyone will be under the effects of some sort of damage over time. So that's basically your basic, your click lock. That's going to be your splash damage for any guys that are clustered up, which is great. On the A button, I have Swift Lunge, which is his melee movement scimitar dash. Now this build, I've chose to not go with teleport because I don't feel like teleports are very good anymore, to be really honest. The way that they're like kind of locked to a set distance, and you feel, if you're a veteran player and you played before the biggest update ever, teleport, you could go like from here to wherever your end of your cursor was, almost like there was no leash on it. But I'd rather the feel of the dash. Not to mention this dash has a dot built into it, so if you dash through someone, they get 3,916 twice per second damage, mental damage that is, so it goes very well thematically with the build. But then you'll also notice here, it says reduce the cooldown of other scimitar powers by -4 seconds on hit. Now I have 4 dashes, and that's because of the infinity system, and I'll explain how that works into this kind of thematically. It all is a big synergy here, so it's pretty cool. So I'm using Swift Lunge. I dash through bosses and things just to add another layer of dot damage, which a lot of people are just using teleport, so that's kind of a big difference there. So this also keys in one of your melee type tags. So if you want to go with like a hybrid ranged melee, you could definitely proc those rings and like the Hulkbuster, or not Hulkbuster. What is that? Anyways, it's an artifact. It goes off of ranged and melee. Now is it Hulkbuster munitions package or something like that? I think that sounds right, but maybe I'm wrong. Anyways, moving on to S. This is my psychokinetic barrier. This is basically, and this is what the dash looks like, sorry. Psychokinetic barrier, you can lay down 3 of these. This move alone will help Cable stay alive so much. You want to put this either between you and an enemy or directly under the feet of an enemy, just depending on how you're using it. If you want to use it defensively, say this waypoint here, this is like enemy shooting at me, I could put it here, and then basically any bullets that come through it, you'll see right there, it says -25% damage for enemy projectiles that pass through it. So if I put this barrier between me and people shooting at me with ranged projectiles, everything that comes through is 25% less damage. It also does a weaken if it's cast on them, and it does a slow, and it also does quite a nice dot damage over time. You can maintain 3 areas, and it lasts for almost 10 seconds. So this move is very good, especially if you want to build a box and then do your shit outside of it. This helps you stay alive more than you would ever imagine. If you're dying a lot to projectiles, make sure these are thrown up between you and the enemies or directly under them. and a lot of the damage will get reduced big time between the weaken and then the weaken on the projectiles that pass through it. It's great for survivability. Okay, so here is part of that synergy I was talking about with my dash. So I'm using Scimitar Slam because I had one slot open in this build that really kind of was like, what do I do with it? And before I was using an energy type move and trying to gain hybrid damage and all that shit, so I was using like the stunning concussion blast kind of thing to get some energy damage into the kit. But for pure damage, the Scimitar Slam hits like a freight train. It also is mental damage and area. So almost everything in this build is area tagged, which is great because that allows us to really focus in on those keywords. So Scimitar Slam is our open slot. This is what I've really grown to like a lot. And because of the synergy on this, you'll understand why I like it even more. This is tagged as a Scimitar Power, okay? Scimitar. I hope I'm saying that right. If I'm not, then I'd probably just sound like a big dummy right now. But you'll see the Swift Lunge here. It says, reduce the cooldown of other Scimitar powers by -4 seconds on hit. So this is an 8-second cooldown. If you cast this, which it says it's melee area, but it is definitely ranged. I mean, it is melee tagged and not range tagged, but it is definitely ranged because you can throw it way up there and blow everyone up in that big circle, okay? So this is what I like to do. I know he's going to get loud here probably, but I'll throw it. I'll dash through guys. You can see how much it just pulled out the cooldown there. It just chews it in half. If you dash back and forth twice, well, sometimes it works, but basically you can reduce the cooldown of the Scimitar Slam by 4 seconds. So you literally cut it in half by having this dash in the kit and having this. So this is a big punch, big area clear, great for trash clearing. I really use this and the telekinetic overload to just clear almost all trash. And moving along here, let me get him out of the way. I'd like him to shut up and stop shooting things. Okay, this is going to get real annoying. Let me just uncast him. Okay, so telekinetic overload. This is our big daddy kind of move. This actually can cast through walls, which is a really cool little thing to know about it. But this knocks people down. You have 50% damage absorption while you're using it, which that's just whatever, you know, you're not doing it to reduce damage. But this boosts all your other Scion powers through, I believe, a talent. You get 10 seconds of that extra buff damage. This hits like a freight train. It will lift up a huge enemy or huge pack of guys. You can see how big that circle is. It's almost as big as the Scimitar Slam. So between these two moves, you can hit a large clump of enemies with two pretty hard-hitting moves. And you can do them almost every 5 or 6 seconds just because of 5-second cooldown on telekinetic overload and 8 seconds on Scimitar Slam, but really it's actually 4 if you dash and hit someone with a lunge. So it's about every 4 or 5 seconds actually you can do both of these, like Spam City, and that is fantastic for trash clear and for terminal runs and things like that. Not much else to say about this move other than I really like it a lot. Foresight Bomb, this is your signature. I have this one ramped up through the ultimate. I have Cable's ultimate at level 20, so this gets some serious damage. Now, a really cool thing about Foresight Bomb is you're invulnerable while you're doing it, but you can do it while you're doing other things. So like you could be casting on here and then not have to break a target lock and still put the thing up there. But basically it teleports forward, does energy, mental damage, irresistible knockdown, taunts while it's out there. So it takes a lot of heat off you, but then also you're invulnerable, and it blows up real big, like 1.5, 1.6 million for like everyone in the area of it. And you can see how big that circle is. So the bomb blows up pretty big. Just make sure you're placing it in the correct areas. So 30-second cooldown on that. And on H, I have Psionic Illusions. These are 2 little summons that Cable can put out. They kind of look like this. So they kind of clone him. What's cool about these summons is that they actually have a they have like a taunt built into them, so that the enemies on the screen will actually just attack these dudes. And through a talent, you gain some charges on it, and then you also gain the ability to have these illusions cast some skills and do some damage, which is great because it'll really help burn down a boss. So you can put this guy here and here, and they'll start casting and stunning and doing some dot damage and all that shit. Not to mention they're kind of absorbing all that heat, and these are on, like I said, a charge system, so you want to try to maintain these up as much as you can when you're in battle. They'll take a lot of heat off you, and these dudes just spread some dots around like big time, so that'll help with your mind bullet damage. Some of your other damage. Anywho. Alright, so not a whole lot to know about Psionic Illusion. If you're not casting these enough, you might run into some survivability issues, but if you cast these before you go, and you can cast them pretty far ahead of you, get these guys out in front of you, throw one of these up, and that should help all your survivability you need, because Cable has really good health regen built in. And with these dudes taking a chunk of the damage away from you because they're taunting, and your signature taunts, and then this reduces guys' damage through projectiles and weaken. These are your survivability type moves. So if you're dying a lot, try to cast this more often. And then also, I like to just put these right on top of a boss because they do actually quite a bit of damage, which is nice. Okay, so for my right click, my I guess mind bullets would kind of just be my click lock, but my main spam kind of vulnerability applicator / immobilize / dot damage. This move is just so many things once you get it talented up. Psychic Haze is amazing. Basically, it's invulnerable. I mean, this immobilizes, this adds vulnerability, does dot damage, and does splash damage all at one time. You can see right there about how big of an area it affects. Looks like this. So it's a pretty quick cast. It sticks on the guys after you cast it on them. So this is your vulnerability applicator. They won't be able to move, which is great, and then also starts ticking away on damage. So between Psychic Haze and your Psychokinetic Barrier, and then your two slam moves. So this, and this, and then your illusions out there. You pretty much clear all trash with just those, and then you can start whittling down on the harder guys with mind bullets and all the area damage and splashing around and dots. It's insane. There's just tons of numbers going everywhere. So anyways, that's the skill bar, guys. I hope you are following along with that, especially the synergy between the lunge and the scimitar slam. I think that's really what, I guess, kind of differentiates my build from other people's right now that I've seen, is this has a really good synergy, and it definitely is a ranged move. So and it's mental, so you can focus on one damage type, and you get the melee ranged hybrid if you'd like it. Okay, so under talents, he is a fighting energy hero, and he has extra crit damage. I'm not going to go too much more into that, but this is his defensive trait. He has the health regen built in, and then he basically is a defense dodge hero. But then you'll also notice under close quarters, it says when you hit with a melee power, you get 8% damage reduction. Well, guess what? Our dodge, or our dash is a melee, and then also scimitar slam is a melee, even though it's ranged. So you're getting that 8% damage reduction, which is great for survivability. Really fantastic. Okay, so under tier 1, I'm just going to go what I chose. I'm not going to explain the other ones at all. So I went with Psychic Interference. This is to make the Psychic Haze grant vulnerability, and then it also adds some extra sign of power damage. I'm doing Kinetic Repulsion. This basically will bump guys back whenever they get into melee range on you, and it happens every 6 seconds, which is quite often. And then it does good damage, but it will also apply Guarded, which is you get 10% base health and health regeneration on top of your health regeneration, which is fantastic. So this is just good overall. I've seen a lot of people use Organic Interface, but I really like the Repulsion, especially because I don't want guys up my grill. I'd rather cast and move around and dash and stuff like that and keep guys off of me. So this that repulsion pulse that bumps guys back, that also can interfere with animations. So if a guy's about to cast something on you and then he gets bumped, he won't finish his animation. So it can prevent some damage too in a roundabout way. Okay, so Psychic Illusion. This is what makes Mind Bullets a basic power. and then it also transforms your illusion guys into psionic illusions. So rather than telepathic illusions, it becomes psionic illusions, which makes them have shorter cooldown, gains multiple charges, they do damage, and then you also get some extra psion power, which is great because we're doing a lot of psion power. Foresight Bomb is now a psion power, and Telekinetic Overload gains the following effects. Psion power damage, 25%. So that's every 5 seconds. We're gaining that Telekinetic Overload, which gains a huge psion power buff, and we'll be casting these pretty much nonstop. So this is a great talent for us. And then Psychokinetic Barrier makes enemies weakened, and it does additional damage over time, and it adds extra psion power damage. So that's this move right here. That's what applies an extra weaken on top of the projectile damage reduction kind of thing built in. So we're applying a lot of vulnerability, a lot of weaken all on our kit without having to think too much about it. I know a lot of people use Eye for Weakness because of 35% vulnerability and 35% weaken. However, the 15-second cooldown, I'm not trying to constantly manage that, and to have one of our 8 slots just constantly be like grayed out for just maybe like one boss, I just kind of went a different route. I didn't want to just have to sit there and count down that cooldown. There's no way to reduce this that I know of right now, so that's kind of why I didn't go with it. Instead, we're applying our weaken and spreading around our vulnerability very liberally. You know me, I'm a spammer. I like to spam shit. I don't like to wait on it. So that is it for the talents and traits. I went ahead and jumped into the Infinity system, which we will go over right now. So again, Cable is a fighting energy hero. So basically what I like to do is I like to spread my points out to make sure I get at least 150 in each node. You have to be over 150, so see, to gain all the gem masteries, you have to go 150 plus. So right here, I'm actually glad I went to the time gem because this plays a significant role in the way the kit works. So when you have 150 points in time gem, not only do you get 1 to all attributes, you get your extra charge on your dash power. So normally you have 3 dashes, but because of that 100 plus points in time gem, you gain a 4th charge, which really helps with the flow of the game and how you're playing this. And then this also says whenever you use a medkit, your dash gains a charge, so that also works with Swift Lunge. So we get 1, 2, 3, 4, medkit, 5, and they're all on separate cooldowns, so they'll come back real quick. But you won't be spamming it like that, but you get the gist. Especially with medkits being on fairly quick cooldown and free, you definitely want to take advantage of the medkit synergy there with this kit and the Swift Lunge and the Scimitar Slam. It's very crucial that you get your spread of points here in the gem mastery to make sure that you can keep using those medkits to get your dashes back, because that'll help with the flow of the rotation. So in time gem, I just went all temporal loophole. Under Mind Gem, I went a little more than 150, even though I don't need to. I just wanted more crit chance, so I dumped a lot more points into Mind over Matter. Under the Power Gem, I need to hit, there we go, just over 150. So basically I did all superhuman for the Brutal Strike chance. I really want to hit harder, so that's definitely the way to go there. So now I'm gaining all these extra things with the signature powers, blah, blah, blah. Reality Gem, I pretty much just went 9 points straight into energy. I forget how many actual points I have just freely, but that will give me my gem mastery as well as my main stat. Also fighting, or the soul gem, I went 9 here, and then any additional, I love that health regeneration. This is just such a good node against all odds. With Cable's built-in health regen, and then sometimes you can get it on your cosmically enhanced artifacts, some health regen while you're in combat, plus this is just very, very good for survivability. And I like to build balanced heroes, and I can very easily stand inside of 6 boss waves on like cosmic patrol zones and things like that. So under Space Gem, I went with micro warps and a split with Gravity Well for a lot more base health. So right now I'm just base rocking like 31k. That helps again with survivability, because if you're not alive, you can't dish out damage. So that's basically my Infinity system for cable. Pretty defensive and offensive based, but a good spread, and I am getting every gem mastery, so a lot of the benefits that you get from using a med kit on all these different ones, and the damage reduction and all that good stuff, we're rocking all that. So we're cooling down our ultimate a lot here through the med kits, blah blah blah. You can read all these, but I really am an advocate for spreading out your points after this most recent update. So under hero synergies, that's the next bit here. I'm doing Black Bolt, Cable, Captain Marvel, Cyclops, Gambit for the plus energy, Human Torch because we do a ton of area damage. I probably should rock Magneto, but I'm not. Starlord for crit, War Machine for the fighting, Wolverine for brutal, and that's it. So guys, that is basically the build, if you will. And you notice I'm rocking the Techno-Organic Virus cable. Got this one out of a blender, which I'll put that video up here soon at some point. It was my most recent blender video. I kind of just did it on my own. I was too impatient to wait. Okay, so let's go through the gear, guys. I'm rocking a Warlock's Eye, level 80. This is really good because we got all mental damage, getting a little extra spirit, which helps with spamming, and you can spam very, very easily in this build. And then we're getting a lot of crit hit rating on mental attacks, which all of our skills are mental, so that's a lot of crit hit rating, which helps a ton. Running Relic of Attilian, and this is just because I don't have a ton of Atlantis relics, but Attilian is very good too because almost every skill we have is tagged area, so this will just add a lot of health, a lot of area damage. Overall, it's a pretty good swap if you don't have the trident looking one here. Okay, so let's move on to the artifacts. I'm using a cosmically enhanced Gem of the Curse. This is just fantastic for your stats of getting your crit hit and brutal hit and your damage up. So this is basically just a DPS type item. And right there you see while in combat I generate 150 health per second. That's great for defense and time to live. I'm using a cosmically enhanced Hood of the Reaper, and I know that, you know, some of these things are hard to come by, but just make do with what you can. So I'm rocking the defense rating because he's a defense dodge hero. I like to play on those two primary stats since he gets extra percentage bonuses to those. But this also is really good because it gets you health when you defeat people, fighting, which is one of his main stats, mental damage, which is his main damage type, health, and brutal strike rating, which is going to help with the brutal hits a lot. I'm using Skrull X-Men Medallion because we're doing tons of area, tons of mental, and we're energy, and we're fighting, and we're health. It's fucking fantastic. I don't know how else to say it. Just all around the item that we want to rock as a mental cable for sure. Blessed Sinister's Cosmically Enhanced Diamond. Again, we're doing area, we're doing mental, we're energy. We're not technically intelligence, but still we're gaining all that critical and brutal damage rating. Defense, +1 to all attributes if we rock both at the same time, which basically anytime we cast any skill, we're going to proc that extra attribute. And then it's cosmically enhanced, we're gaining another attribute. So this is just a shitload of primary stats right here. And then also a ton of critical and brutal damage. So next, doing the Blessed Cosmically Enhanced Kevlar Plated Helmet. Since Cable is a fighting energy hero, whenever I critically hit, I gain 5 fighting for 5 seconds. We're basically, hopefully we're hitting tons of criticals, so we're just always going to be rocking that 5 fighting all the time. So we got extra crit hit rating on range attacks and deflect, which isn't one of his primary stats, but this is kind of just a placeholder right now. I really want a cosmically enhanced crossbone teaching credential. That's what will replace this when I find it. But again, just playing on that cosmic item affix of dodge rating increased when you're in combat. Between this, the health regen, and the defense, that helps a lot with survivability as well. So we're blessing everything with Hellas because that'll really help ramp up our brutal hit rating and brutal damage rating. I think Hellas are still way too good. We're using Boazon, and I didn't do a ton of research into what might be the best option here, but I had the Boazon on Cable anyways, and all of our moves are almost ranged. Like I think just the Scimitar, Sweep, and Dash our scimitar slam and the dash are the only ones that aren't tagged range. So we're gaining a ton of brutal strike rating and ton of damage, and we're getting crit hit rating, which is great. And the enemy defeat is whatever. Using defensive Uru just because it helps just a little bit more for survivability. Using a sling ring of Taj with mental damage just for the attack speed, health, vulnerability, yada yada yada. Everyone knows that ring. You could easily rock one of the fighting type melee ranged rings from the danger room if you so choose. I just didn't want to waste my merits on them, so I didn't. Okay, so now here we get into the slot items. This is where some big spending goes on. Using a Fragment of Twilight, gotta save your commendations for these types of things. This slot one is just, it's ridiculous. I don't know what else to say about it. Just tons of damage, tons of heal, tons of synergy. It's so good. I'm just using his slot too. I've seen a lot of people using the Danger Room like X-Men uniform, but I don't mind this one at all. It's just a shitload of health, some damage rating. Using his Bionic Arm on slot 3. Tasker Treads on slot 4 because we get a lot more damage, and since almost everyone will be vulnerable because I'm just psychic hazing the shit out of everyone on the screen, we're getting a lot of damage rating. And then as slot 5, Essence of Jinn, it takes the freaking cake for one of the best items in this game, especially for ranged area. Just area damage in general, this thing just pours it out, man. Whenever we critically hit with a range power, we have a chance to rock +9 energy stat, which is huge for damage. It could be a little bit higher percent chance, but I was happy with the +9 energy stat. So I stopped rolling it there. Everything's mental and cattle runed, if you will. Using a fighting genetic mutation with the extra health, enemy health on defeat. And this is actually pretty crucial. You really need to get the damage shield and the regen of spirit and life on medkit. Since we're medkitting so much, so frequently, this will help with your spirit management huge, because we're going to be spamming a lot. So you need to keep your spirit up by your medkitting. Rolled crit damage rating on all the affixes. And then we're using Insignia of Wasp, just because this adds extra crit hit rating on range powers and some damage, and it's got good rolls, so we're doing a lot of area moves, remember, so we're adding some extra damage there. My pet, the only thing I really am happy with right now is the +3 to energy. The other stats aren't terrible, but I'll probably re-roll them to try to get it a little better. And that is the gearing. I love me a box of keepsakes, man. That's so good. Health and spirit for 30 minutes. Fuck yeah. All right. With that being said, guys, let's just go ahead and let's rock my General Clerk terminal. We'll do it on Cosmic just to kind of show off the build. Let me summon out Deadpool again. But we're only doing this terminal because this is where my shield buff is going to be held at. So Clerk is the Skrull invasion. It's actually a decent test of survivability and damage. But you'll notice one of the main things that I like to do is I like to start off with the illusions, Psychic Haze, drop a couple barriers down that really sets up your survivability, and then start slamming and telekinetic overloading, and then making sure you're keeping up your illusions like nonstop. And then you'll dash to get your scimitar slam back up more quickly and apply some extra dot damage, and we'll just rock it. So I like to drop the bomb in areas where I'm not going, and then just let it do its thing up there. That helps with clearing faster. But you'll notice I'm kind of just really liberally applying all these dots everywhere. And then again, I'm really maintaining my spirit by using the medkits, which if you don't have that, And you probably run into some spirit issues if you're spamming as much as me. I don't really like to, think about shit too much. I just kind of want to, wow, is this team invincible? I don't like to think too much. I like to just kind of spam and go. And then that med kit right there, you see that will keep up my dashes. I'm going to use the signature on him. I'm probably over applicating all these dots, but again, I don't necessarily care. Just want to keep going. Ooh, that's some serious lag. Alright, so we're going to run over this boss real quick. Yeah, we'll drop that there. Just make sure you keep those illusions up. That's really just crucial. Just make sure you're at 0 charges at like all times, if you can be. These things do some damage too. I'll probably kill them all. Remember me saying that the telekinetic overload can go through walls. It's so good. Alrighty. I don't know where I'm casting right now. I'm a spamming fool. That's the way to play it. Nice and dumb. That's how I like it. Easy to control. That is key. But you can see right there, man, that scimitar slam is just so good for trash clear. That, you follow these two up right there, will probably clear most of your trash out. You can see how much you can spam it too when you use that dash in between. just reducing that cooldown big time. And you're keeping your dash up through the medkits, which are free. Alright, true test of it. I don't really know where he's at right now. There we go. Let's hit him with the ultimate. Unloading on him. And then if you have that shield on your med kit as well, you're just going to be invulnerable that much more. Plus with the Karmatage ring, you're going to have some invulnerability there when you use your signature. It's just great. Oh shit, look at that. Cosmically enhanced Skrull energy focusing crystal. Or is that a rifle? Who knows? Let's take a look. Oh mama. I like that. That's a good find. Alright, so that's the build, guys. I definitely am having a lot of fun with it. I hadn't played Cable in quite some time, but when I got his techno-organic virus costume, I was like, well, I better play him again. So I did, and this is the build that I'm really liking, especially with Scimitar Slam and the dash. It's just another little added synergy that I guess kind of allows you to really clear the trash out pretty quickly. So I hope you liked the build. If you did, leave a thumbs up. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. And I apologize, guys, for the delay in my video timing. This game is really stagnant sometimes when they're not putting a lot of effort into it, and there's not a whole lot to talk about until I just kind of dive in and try to play some new heroes. So if you have any suggestions on who you want to see next, let me know, and I'll see if I can't do something like that. But again, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.